The Opinion Line on Cork's 96FM.
As I look down here from my perch in Studio 2 with my wonderful, wonderful view of Cork City, which it's worth coming in every morning just to look out at the beautiful city, I see lots and lots of windows on Patrick Street. Look further over, I see lots and lots of top floors all over the city that could have people living in them. And you often wonder, should there not be proper grants available, proper, ways to enable people to do that, to look down at a shop and think, right, the top floor there is completely empty. Sometimes even the top 2 floors are completely empty. Could we not put in an apartment or 2? Now, there is a €135,000 grant to help people to do this. And there used to be tax relief, but that's not there anymore. But there is a grant there to enable people to look at the top floor of a shop, over their own shop even, or over the shop of the person next door, that kind of thing. Michael Powell of Powell Properties is with me this morning. Michael, you're saying that €135,000 grant is no good to anyone. Good morning.
Hi PJ, how are you doing? And again, I would agree with you. I'm based here in Grand Parade and walk the city quite a lot, and to see the city in the condition it's in and the missed opportunity of conversion of units over shops, it's a big missed opportunity. And I suppose this is another scheme they're after bringing in. So there was obviously the vacant property grant, which is still operating, and this is vacant above the shop. And obviously there is 135 grand available depending on the number of units. So 95,000 is available for 1 unit, 20 grand is available for a second, and then a third doesn't further 20. And there's an additional 5,000 which you can apply for expert costs. So we certainly do welcome encouraging people to do up their buildings, but it's too restrictive in nature. So part of the application process is fine, it has to be built after 2008, that's no issue at all, but the restrictive nature, it's not going to be done at scale. So effectively you have to be an individual who owns the property, or you have to be a sole trader. Now many of the properties around Cork City are owned by limited companies, so they're excluded automatically, which in my mind is ludicrous. So we're based on the Grand Parade. My limited company owns the building we're in, and we're not eligible for the grant. And that's just one example. And this isn't all.
And would you have space? Would you have space upstairs?
Yes, we've planning permission in for 3 further apartments in the building. So, but we can't get this grant, But again, it's too restrictive in nature. The application process, there's also restrictions with clawback agreements. So again, a clawback, so effectively when you do get paid the money, and the other issue with getting paid the money is you have to have cash on the hip. You have to be able to self-finance this. Yes. You don't get the money during the process. There's no stage payment process. So a very simple solution would be a stage payment phase of this, if it is to an individual, because effectively this is development finance. This isn't a home loan or a mortgage. You're now a developer, and development finance is not available for 300 and 400 grand projects. It's just not there. So I feel it is a waste of time, and it's going to be done at a very small scale. And again, there is restrictions with clawback agreements, whereby if you're looking to sell the building before 5 years, they can claw back 50% or 100%. There's different levels on how many units you do. So again, restrictions on clawback agreements, restriction to individuals. You're leaving a cohort of people.
Without getting too technical, the one that would certainly stop me in my tracks were I to do it would be the fact that, like you said, I got to have cash on the hip. And if I'm going to get 135,000 back afterwards, that's great. But I got to get it from someone first so that I can spend it. Yes. And they're not going to give it to me.
No. And this is a major issue. And it's the same issue is with the vacant property grant. We finished the property ourselves last October. I'm told I'm being paid on the 14th of April. So if I'm promising contractors, look, I have this grant and it's all approved by the council, approval means nothing. The
you
council
got it
have final say.
So you did the completion in October.
Yes.
January, February, March. That's 7 months ago. 6 months ago.
Yeah. 14th of April is, I believe, when the money's been paid. So we tested it because, look, our businesses, we manage 1,000 units, we represent 700 landlords. So we said, let's just go and do one to see how it works. And effectively, it's not efficient. You're dealing with, to be fair, the City Council do a great job. This is designed by the Department of Housing. They obviously have an administration team in there. They have a property inspector. It then has to go to the legal department because a clawback agreement has to be drawn up and you have to register with the RTV. So all of that is done. The property is occupied. Okay. Rent is being paid.
You're a big property company. You're a big property company. You being on the hook for 135,000 for 6 months. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's easier than it would be for somebody like me or anyone like that. You reckon 300,000 is also more realistic because of the sheer cost of doing this?
Yeah, it is. Or simply, like the government have come up with a scheme now whereby they're saying 45 square metres in your backyard, you get 14,000 euros tax free. Why not do this? Why not just make it simple? So if you have 3 units, just give 14 grand a year tax free for 10 years. That's 140,000 worth of tax breaks. You know exactly where you're going. You're not waiting on money. You can probably talk to a bank now because you can say, look, I have a tax break. It's 14 grand per annum. My rent for a 2-bed apartment in town is going to be 1,800 to 2 grand. This is my position. I'm much clearer with my position. I'm not relying on when is my money going to arrive? When can I pay a contractor? How am I going to complete this? So
are there conversion standards too, Michael? Because I'm always amused, and look, everybody wants their house to be as efficient as it can possibly be. But I'm always a little bit sort of critical of the need to have everything A-rated. Everything doesn't need to be A-rated. B is grand. C is lovely.
B is grand, yeah. Yeah, and there is SEI grants available if you bring properties up to B2, but again, that's very costly. Like, we're doing a project at the moment, and we ordered insulated slabs to get up to that B2, and the cost of that was 8,500 last week. Irish Water, again, on a project where we're doing 2 units, and I must be clear, we act on behalf of clients. We help clients. We help them develop properties and grow their portfolios. So again, an Irish Water bill last night for 2 water connections and a sewer connection, where there is an existing sewer connection and there's water going to the building, was 6,020 euros. But
the water is already going in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but that's the cost. It's a water connection cost. So the costs are staggering to renovate. What is a very good scheme, and I'm not sure, are you aware of it, is the Living in City initiative. Where you get up to, they've actually increased it from 200 to 300,000 worth of relief.
Is this like the one they had in the 90s where they started doing it in North Main Street? You could live over your own shop.
It's in for a while, so they've changed the criteria. So the building had to be pre-1916, but the major flaw with that is they're working off an old archaeological conservation map, and much areas of the city are excluded. So, for instance, South Mall is excluded, Oliver Plunkett Street is excluded, lots of South Terrace, George's Quay. So there's actually a very helpful map on Map Viewer on the Cork City Council website. Right. But this is a fantastic initiative. But again, I suppose what they did change is they changed the relief from 200 to 300, so they increased that. Now, that only really has dealt with building inflation. But what it means is you can actually accelerate those allowances over 2 years. So over 2 years, I can claim back 150,000 euros per year against rental income, which is fantastic. Yeah. But again, not designed for something at scale. So if we want to do this at scale, we want to do own door entrances, typically with 3 and 5 apartments. 300 grand relief isn't enough. Yeah. It needs to be about 100 grand a unit, to make it viable.
To make it viable.
And back to the living over the shop grant. If you're a sole trader, you're mid-60s, you're not going to bother take on the development risk, and you've a further maybe 150 grand you have to put in yourself. It depends what age you're at. It depends your circumstances. What's your situation. So it's all well and good bringing in grants, but they don't make sense.
Is it cynical of me, Michael, to be suggesting that here is another occasion where we have to be seen to do something, so we'll throw some numbers out, but they're so damn hard to get, and it really won't cover the real cost. But it's there, and you can say afterwards, well, we said we'd do something, and we did.
Yeah, 100%. You
agree with me?
I do agree with you. Again, they're seen to be doing something, but it's not practical. It's not a working solution. You can't go down to AIB as an individual and say that I've applied for a vacant. They won't bank it. I spoke to a colleague in PTSB 3 or 4 weeks ago. So he's on the CBA, and he said it's not bankable. We can't lend for it. So what's the point? Again, so. You have to be a certain age. Your situation has to be a certain.
What do you mean it's not bankable? So you've applied for the 135,000, and you make a pretty good case for yourself that you will get it, but the bank won't take that guarantee. They won't lend it to you. You have to.
But the bank aren't lending for development finance. Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah.
They're not lending. They want to lend for first-time buyers. Homeowners, etc., but they aren't lending for development finance. Like most of our clients who are doing it are cash rich, or they're doing our existing cash flow because they can. But I'd love the person in the shop if there was a product available. So the first thing went before they designed these grants and schemes is they should sit down with the pillar banks and to say, okay, we want to design a scheme what is bankable, and we need a product for this. So along with the document they're providing, they should be providing advice on how to get the money and, how it works, and certainly bring in a stage payment within the project. And the council can pre-inspect this. And again, you will have to have an assigned certifier for the project anyway, because it has to qualify with building and fire. So your assigned certifier could come along and say, okay, the first fix, electrics and plumbing are done. There's now 35 grand due. Make that payment. The next stage is second fix, kitchen fitted. Make it simple.
A bit like if I'm building a house. If you're building an extension, my builder 100%. Wants his stage payment. He wants 7 grand this Friday. He wants another 10 grand in a month's time. Yeah.
And the engineer signs it off, and your engineer is the assigned certifier for the project anyway, because he has to sign off on the project. And if the council aren't satisfied and there's not a certain compliance, they won't make the payment if it doesn't comply with building and fire regulations. And the other thing as well is there's stipulations where you have to sign a declaration that the commercial has to remain commercial. Now, how easy, because I know that the answer is how easy is it to convert upper floors, not disturb your commercial downstairs, and comply with fire regs? Now, the first thing you have to do with a commercial ground floor and over the shop units is you need to fire rate that ceiling. So effectively, you need to go in and work on that live unit. So, there's a lot of restrictions, and there should be restrictions.
Yeah, and you also are not allowed to have someone wandering down through your shop on their way out in the morning or in the evening.
And it's very intrusive. Like, you're running new services up through a building. It's quite specialised, really, converting over shops. It's not that easy, and there's very heavy costs. When people talk about fire, like you have to compartmentalize all ceilings, you have a fire alarm system, you probably have an AOV. Depending on the height of the building, there's now a sprinkler requirement. So, your 135 isn't going to cut the mustard here. Like,
it's not.
Plus your 5 grand top up for expertise.
Cut the mustard. It's not even going to open the jar.
No, but again, 95 grand is okay for one unit, but make it 95 grand per unit rather than 20. Sure, 20 isn't going to do anything.
I have you. Michael, I will leave it there. Michael Powell of Powell Properties. They've got this vacant above the shop grant, 135,000. Looks good on paper. There's a man who said, look, it actually isn't as good as that when you work it all out. Thank you, Michael Powell.
Cork's 96 FM.